I was a really creative kid. I was always drawing, painting, crafting, and writing. I certainly wouldn't consider myself an artist, but I still enjoyed these hobbies as an adult. When I was in the 6th grade, I started writing a full-blown novel that I sadly never finished. By the time I eventually stopped writing, it was over 350 pages long. My story was about my friends and I. There were about 10 of us of varying ages by a few years, who all lived on the same street and played together nearly every single day. We would play during the day and bounce ideas for the story off each other. And at the end of the day, I would go home and write about whatever we talked about. My story was called The Shadow Creature, and it begins with me and my friend, Pickle, hanging out in our usual spot in the woods directly behind my house. Of course, being curious kids, we took the book home and read aloud from it, not realizing we were essentially performing a ritual to welcome this entity into our realm. I don't remember writing anything especially sinister, because these were my friends I was writing about. But the shadow creature, as we called it, started causing all kinds of chaos in our lives. My book was a sort of horror comedy, as you can imagine coming from an 11-year-old. I was adding all sorts of mischiefs and plot twists throughout the story, but ultimately I knew the book would end by us finding a way to return the shadow creature back to wherever it came from. This is where problems came along. While I said I don't remember anything super sinister happening, I do remember making the shadow creature off one of my friend's dog. I planned to have the dog come back to life at the end of the story, but again, I never made it that far. My friend was livid that I destroyed her dog in my story, and a huge fight broke out within our group, with only one friend really taking my side on things. It was at this point I stopped writing, and all of my friends and I eventually made up. Shortly after I stopped working on my novel, strange things began happening in my house. We had a very long hallway, and I would hear footsteps up and down it all night long. I've always felt an incredibly eerie feeling when I was in the hallway, and I started refusing to use the bathroom at night because it sat at the very end of it. We always had an enormous bathroom with a divider wall in the middle. Basically, if you were sitting on the toilet, you were looking directly at the wall, and on the other side of it was an open linen closet. One time I was using the bathroom and heard a loud thud, and on the other side of the wall, all of the towels had been thrown on the floor. My parents were pretty religious at the time, and I don't think they believed me in the beginning because initially I was the only one experiencing it. Eventually, though, we all had some spooky encounters in the house.